Number 8. Horned Coot. Similar to an intricately designed floating raft, the horned coot's nest is built to withstand the often changing environments sitting on water can deliver.
But this time, there is a nasty surprise.
A rare species of bird found at lakes in the northwest of Argentina, southwest of Bolivia, and northeastern Chile, the horned coot's living quarters are almost always restricted to altitudes of 3,000 to 5,200 meters above sea level. Like the European bee-eater, the horned coot is monogamous and sometimes breeds in colonies of up to 80 pairs. The male of the species are a little larger than the female on average, with a total length of up to 62 centimeters and a reported body mass of around 2 kilograms. They build huge nests that are typically made from pebbles piled high to form an artificial island. This island reaches the water surface and is normally located about 40 meters from the shore of the lakes where they breed. It is covered with algae to form the nest, and due to the amount of pebbles used, could weigh as much as 1.5 tons. That's a hefty nest. The horned coot breeds from November to January and refurbishes its living quarters each season. Number 7. Gyrfalcon. Falco rusticulus. These birds make life difficult for predators looking for an easy meal, that's for sure. The gyrfalcon typically nests on cliff edges or in conifer tree nests of other species, such as common ravens and golden eagles. Both males and females visit several different cliff faces and trees before deciding on a suitable destination to begin breeding. Their nests are quite basic in comparison to others and can range from bare or debris-covered soil to a structure of dead sticks, usually with little or no lining. The gyrfalcon doesn't build the nest itself, however, both male and female do add their contribution by scraping a hollow depression in the center of an already constructed one. These birds typically breed in Arctic and alpine tundra in northern Canada and Alaska, where trees aren't a common sight. In these areas, there is an abundance of nesting seabirds or waterfowl whose habitats include rocky seacoasts, offshore islands, river and lake bluffs, and mountainous terrain. The low vegetation in their habitat includes species of sedge, cottongrass, lichen, moss, willow, and birch, which is why their nests are so basic. Gyrfalcons rely heavily on willow ptarmigan and rock ptarmigan, but also hunt other birds, including seabirds, waterfowl, shorebirds, and songbirds, and mammals such as hares, ground squirrels, lemmings, and young Arctic fox. Number 6. Little grebe. The smallest European member of the grebe family of water birds, the little grebe, also known as the dabchick, is commonly found in open bodies of water. An excellent swimmer and diver, the little bird measures on average just 10 inches in length. It pursues fish and aquatic invertebrate prey underwater, skillfully using the surrounding vegetation to hide. Like all grebes, it breeds in small colonies and nests at the water's edge. The nest sits on a floating platform of vegetation concealed with additional foliage. Unfortunately, it is vulnerable to fluctuations in water levels, either flooding following heavy rain or being left stranded in drought. The little bird usually lays between 4 to 7 eggs, hiding them from predators when leaving the nest to find food. Soon after hatching, chicks are able to leave the nest and are often carried on the backs of swimming adults. They normally breed during the rainy season in heavily vegetated areas of freshwater lakes across Europe, much of Asia down to New Guinea, and most of Africa. Outside of breeding season, most grebes move into more open water, occasionally appearing on the coast in small bays. Number 5. Common tailor bird. When it comes to nests, not all are created equal. While most are built from twigs and dry grass, others are made from mud or set amongst stones. But the common tailor bird has a truly unique nest. This small bird lives in the tropical ecosystems of Asia, and just like its name suggests, it is a tailor of sorts. It sews a sturdy nest together from leaves and spider webs, fine grass, or plant fibers, and it's rather an impressive sight. The edges of a large leaf are pierced and sewn together to make a cradle in which the actual grass nest is built. In here, the tailor bird raises a family of baby birds. Usually brightly colored with green or gray upper parts and yellow, white, or gray underparts, the tailor bird is a small bird with short, rounded wings, a short tail, strong legs, and a long, curved bill. They often have chestnut on the head and are typically found in open woodland, scrub, and gardens. Number 4. African jacana. The female is larger than the male and has multiple mates, with the male left alone to look after any offspring. A slightly different scenario than most breeds, that's for sure. This system has evolved due to a combination of two factors. The lakes they live on are rich in resources, meaning the energy required by the female in producing each egg is minimal, and the eggs can be equally well incubated by a parent of either gender. Now, Isn't that handy? Dad incubates the eggs, and once the chicks are born, he carries them under his wings to keep them warm and dry until they are almost 3 weeks old. They breed throughout sub-Saharan Africa, laying brown, glossy eggs with irregular black markings in a nest that is created to float on water. A simple structure made from aquatic vegetation, the nest is partially submerged if close to the water's edge, and if in deeper water, it sits on a small, floating, raft-like creation made from vegetation. Number 3. Woodpecker. Most species of woodpecker live in forests or woodland habitats. The bright and colorful little birds are well known for their characteristic behavior, foraging for food on the trunks and branches of trees and communicating by drumming with their beak. This sound can be heard from some distance away, so it's quite the effective communication tool. The woodpecker mostly nests and roosts in holes that the male of the species excavates, with help from the female who may tap around it to signal her approval. Dead trees or dead parts of live trees are chosen as suitable nesting sites, and both partners build the nest from straw, grass, feathers, and bits of bark. These materials are wound around and shaped with the breast of the bird until all the strands are intertwined and feathers are strategically placed in the bowl of the nest. The nests are abandoned when they are no longer needed, and other cavity nesting birds take up residence in them. There are about 200 different species of woodpeckers in the world. However, they do not live in extreme polar regions or Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea, or Madagascar. Number 2. Great Hornbill. Like the woodpecker, the great hornbill nests in tree cavities or rock crevasses, the only difference being that they are almost sealed shut except for a narrow vertical slit. It may seem unusual, but when waiting for their chicks to hatch, the female is sealed inside the nest to protect both her and the babies. The opening to the cavity is wide enough to pass food through, but narrow enough to seal out potential predators, such as monkeys, raptors, and other predators that feed on eggs and young birds. Although the great hornbill is a large bird, more than capable of building its own nest, it regularly takes up residence in one vacated by a woodpecker that has been enlarged by fungus. Once the fussy female has agreed on her accommodation and made herself comfortable, the male sets about making improvements. He brings lumps of soil moistened with his saliva and sometimes mixed with droppings, chewed wood, and bark. Together, the pair build a wall of mud, he from the outside and she from the inside. Once the wall is complete, the female is trapped inside the nest with only a small hole to the outside world through which she can obtain food and communicate. She obviously doesn't suffer from claustrophobia, that's for sure. Number 1. Purple Moorhen. Yet another water dweller, the purple moorhen is easily recognized by its very large and colorful triangle-shaped bill. The bird also has a bulky and curved upper mandible, which gives it a strange appearance. The bill extends to the top of its head in a bright red shield, and it has unusually long legs, slender toes, and fine claws. There's little difference between both the female and the male. However, there are 13 subspecies that differ greatly in size and color, ranging from purple blue and dark brown through to bronze green and pale chestnut. The moorhen is also known as the water hen or swamp chicken. It lives around well-vegetated marshes, lakes, ponds, canals, other wetlands, and even city parks. Their nests resemble weaved baskets and are built on the ground in dense vegetation. Laying begins in spring, between mid-March and mid-May in the northern hemisphere, with about 8 eggs laid per female in the season. If they lay later in the season, there are fewer eggs. Moorhens incubate and feed their young in pairs, with the chicks becoming independent after 3 weeks. Can you imagine if human babies did that? That'd make life interesting, wouldn't it? Not unlike a construction worker, but with a lot less tools and building materials, birds have been creating amazing nests to house both themselves and their young since before time. These thoroughly impressive constructions are both intriguing to look at and fit for purpose.